My fiancée slept with her ex the night before our wedding. When I confronted her, she smirked. We're not married yet, so forget it. The next day, I made sure everyone at the ceremony heard the truth. You spend months, even years, planning a single day. You obsess over the color of the napkins, the font on the invitations, the flavor of the cake. You do it because you believe that day is the start of the rest of your life. You believe it is a foundation. What you never plan for is discovering that the foundation is rotten through, just hours before you're supposed to build your life on it. My name is David, and yesterday was supposed to be my wedding day. I'm a pretty straightforward guy. I run a business restoring classic cars. It is a passion I turned into a living. I deal with things I can see and touch: metal, leather, engines. I understand how things work. If a part is broken, you replace it. If the frame is bent, you straighten it. I thought relationships were the same. You find a problem, you fix it. You communicate, you work together. My relationship with my fiancée Emily seemed like a perfectly restored machine. We had been together for 3 years. We were partners. We split our finances, we made decisions together. We argued sometimes, but we always found a way back to center. I was not a guy who paid for everything or ignored problems. We were a team. Or so I thought. Her ex-boyfriend, a guy named Greg, was the one piece that never quite fit. He was always on the edges of our life. A text on her birthday, a comment on her social media. She always told me it was nothing, that they had a long history and were just friends. She said he was a closed chapter. I am a man who values trust above all else, so I believed her. That was my mistake. The night before our wedding, we followed tradition and spent the night apart. She went for a quiet night with her bridesmaids. I stayed at our house with my best man, my brother Mike. I was not nervous. I was excited. I was ready. Around 2 a.m, I woke up to a text. It was from Megan, one of Emily's bridesmaids and the wife of one of my good friends. The text was short and cryptic. I am so sorry, Dave. I cannot be a part of this. I have gone home. Check the location tag on the photo Emily's sister just posted. My heart started pounding. I went to social media. Emily's sister, her maid of honor, had posted a picture of a group of them doing shots at a bar. The caption was, "One last night of freedom for my girl." I clicked the location tag. It was a bar I knew well. It was 2 blocks from Greg's apartment. A cold feeling washed over me. I tried to tell myself it was a coincidence, but I could not shake it. I pulled on a pair of jeans and a sweatshirt. Mike woke up as I was grabbing my keys. "What is going on?" he asked. "I am just going for a drive," I told him. I did not drive to the bar. I drove to Greg's apartment building. And there it was, Emily's car, parked right out front. There was no doubt it was hers. A small dent on the rear bumper from when she backed into a post 6 months ago was clearly visible under the streetlights. I did not get out of the car. I did not call her. I just sat there for about an hour, the engine off, the silence in my truck deafening. I felt a strange calm settle over me. It was the same feeling I get when I find a hidden patch of rust on a classic car. The disappointment is sharp, but it is immediately replaced by the cold, clear reality of the work that needs to be done. The damage was there. Now I had to decide how to deal with it. I drove home. I did not sleep. I just sat in the living room, watching the sun come up, and I made a plan. My wedding day was still going to happen, but the main event had changed. Emily got home around 7 a.m, looking tired but happy. She was humming as she walked in the door. "Hey, you," she said, kissing me on the cheek. "Big day." I let her get a coffee. I let her sit down at the kitchen table. Then I walked over, sat across from her, and placed my phone on the table. It was open to a picture I had taken of her car parked in front of Greg's building. Her smile vanished. "What is this?" "That is your car," I said, my voice flat. "I took that picture at 3:30 this morning. It was parked outside Greg's apartment." She tried to deny it at first. She said she had let a friend borrow her car, that she had been at a hotel with her bridesmaids all night. But her lies were clumsy, unprepared. I just stared at her, my silence letting her stories fall apart. Finally, her face hardened. The panic was replaced by a defiant anger. She dropped the act. "Fine," she said, crossing her arms. "So I saw him. We talked. It was a goodbye. It is not a big deal." "A goodbye that took all night?" I asked. She looked me dead in the eye. A small, arrogant smirk played on her lips. We are not married yet, David. Technically, I did not do anything wrong. It is not cheating if we are not married, so just forget it. We have a wedding to get to. That was it. That was the moment everything became clear. It was not just the act itself. It was the complete and total lack of remorse, the arrogance, the belief that she could look me in the face, admit to betraying me the night before our wedding, and expect me to just forget it because of a technicality. I stood up from the table. I looked at her, the woman I was supposed to promise my life to in just a few hours, and I felt nothing. The love was gone, replaced by a cold, hard resolve. You are right, I said. Let us not be late. She seemed relieved, thinking she had won, thinking I was weak enough to swallow her disrespect and walk down that aisle. She had no idea. The ceremony was still on, but I was no longer the groom. I was the executioner. Update 1. The past week has felt like a lifetime. Thank you to everyone who has commented and sent messages. It helps to know you are not alone when your world gets turned upside down. A lot of you have asked for the details of what happened at the ceremony. It was not an explosion. It was a controlled demolition. After Emily left to go get ready with her bridesmaids, my plan went into motion. The first call I made was to the wedding venue. I spoke to the event coordinator and told her there was a slight change to the reception schedule. The video montage of our love story, which was supposed to play during dinner, needed to be played during the ceremony instead. I told her it was a surprise for Emily. I emailed her a new video file, a file I had spent the morning creating. The original video was a sappy collection of photos from our 3 years together. The new one was different. It started with the picture of her car outside Greg's apartment. Then it showed a series of screenshots. After I got home that morning, I had done some digging. I logged into our shared phone account. It turned out her texts to Greg had been going on for months. They were not just friendly, they were detailed, graphic, and full of plans for their future. A future that did not include me. She was planning on leaving me after the wedding. No, after our finances were legally combined, and after my name was on the deed to the house she was supposed to move into with me. The house my parents had given us as a wedding gift. The texts made it all clear. This was not a last-minute mistake. It was a long-term plan. I put the most damning texts into the video, set to the same romantic music as our original montage. The second call was to my parents. I told them everything. My dad, a man of few words, just said, "Son, you do what you have to do. We are behind you 100%. My mom cried, but not for the wedding. She cried because she knew how much I had been hurt. The third call was to the bank. I froze our joint savings account, the one we had been using for wedding expenses. I also put a fraud alert on my personal credit cards. Then, I got ready. I put on my tux. I drove to the venue. I stood at the altar with my brother Mike by my side, and I waited. I looked out at the guests, at our friends and family, all of them smiling, excited for us. I saw her parents in the front row, looking so proud. I felt a pang of sadness for them, for the humiliation they were about to face. But my resolve was like steel. The music started. The bridesmaids walked down the aisle. Then came Emily. She looked beautiful. She was radiant, smiling, playing the part of the blushing bride perfectly. As she reached the altar, she squeezed my hand and whispered, "See? Everything is going to be perfect." The officiant began. He talked about love, trust, and commitment. The irony was so thick I could taste it. He went through the opening remarks, and then he got to the part where he was supposed to ask us to say our vows. That was my cue. "Before we do that," I said, my voice calm and clear, my hand held up to stop him. "I have something I want to share. A tribute to my beautiful bride." Emily looked at me, a little confused but smiling, thinking this was some romantic gesture. I nodded to the event coordinator at the back of the room. The lights dimmed, and the large screen above the altar, the one that was supposed to show our smiling faces, flickered to life. The first image that appeared was her car. In the quiet church, a few people gasped. Then came the text messages, displayed in huge letters for everyone to read. "Cannot wait to be done with this wedding and finally be with you. Just have to get through this one more day. He has no idea. The house is perfect. We will be so happy there once Dave is out of the picture." The room was completely silent. The romantic music swelled as messages detailing her night with Greg and their plans to take my assets scrolled across the screen. I did not look at the screen. I looked at Emily. Her face had gone from confusion to shock to pure, horrified white. Her mouth was open, but no sound was coming out. Her mother was sobbing. Her father looked like he was going to be sick. The video ended with a final text from her to Greg, sent just an hour before she got home that morning. "It is done. He is a fool. I will see you in a few weeks." The screen went black. The lights came up. I turned to face the guests. "There will be no wedding today," I said, my voice steady. "As you can see, the bride has made other arrangements." I took the microphone from the officiant's stand. "I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate with us. My family and I have paid for a wonderful reception. I ask that you all stay and enjoy the food and drinks. This is no longer a wedding. It is a celebration of truth and a celebration of dodging a bullet." Then I looked at Emily. The smirk was gone. All that was left was the ugly, twisted face of a person whose perfect plan had just been blown to pieces in front of everyone she knew. "We are not married yet," I said, repeating her own words back to her. "So I believe this is where we forget it." I dropped the microphone on the floor. I turned, walked down the aisle, and did not look back. Mike was right behind me. We got into my truck and drove away. The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was Emily, still standing at the altar, a beautiful bride in a white dress, completely and utterly alone. Update 2. It has been a month since the wedding that never was. I spent the first 2 weeks off the grid. Mike and I took the non-refundable honeymoon trip to Hawaii. It felt strange at first, but it was exactly what I needed. Sun, surf, and zero contact with the life I had just detonated. My phone was off the entire time. When I finally turned it back on, it was like opening a floodgate. Hundreds of messages, missed calls, voicemails. The initial wave was from friends and family, all offering support. They had all stayed for the reception, which my brother had turned into a legendary party. He told everyone it was my Independence Day celebration. But then there was the other wave of messages, the ones from Emily and her family. They ranged from furious to pathetic. Her father left a series of voicemails threatening to sue me for defamation, for public humiliation, for the cost of their wedding contributions. He called me every name in the book. Her sister sent long, rambling texts about how I had ruined Emily's life, how she was a good person who had made a mistake, and how I was a monster for doing what I did. And then there were the messages from Emily herself. They were a journey. The first few were full of rage. She called me a psycho, said I had planned the whole thing to destroy her. Then they shifted to bargaining. She said we could still fix it, that she would go to therapy, that she would cut Greg out of her life forever. The last few messages, sent in the middle of the night, were just single words. "Please, sorry, talk to me." I did not respond to any of them. Instead, I had my lawyer do the talking. My lawyer, a woman who specializes in messy breakups, sent a single comprehensive letter to Emily's father. The letter stated a few simple facts. 1. There would be no lawsuit for defamation, because everything I had shown was the verifiable truth, and I had the digital records to prove it. 2. I was not responsible for their emotional distress, as it was a direct result of their daughter's actions. 3. And this was the best part. The letter included a detailed invoice. It was for all the wedding expenses that my family and I had covered. We had paid for the venue, the catering, the band, the flowers. Her family had only covered the cost of her dress and the rehearsal dinner. The contract we had all signed with the venue had a clause stating that, in the event of a cancellation due to the fault of one party, that party was responsible for all non-refundable costs. My lawyer argued, quite convincingly, that a bride sleeping with her ex-boyfriend the night before the wedding constituted fault. The invoice was for a little over $50,000. The letter concluded by stating that if they pursued any legal action against me, I would immediately file a counterclaim for that amount, plus my legal fees. And as a final note, my lawyer mentioned that we had evidence of a conspiracy to commit fraud based on the text messages where Emily and Greg discussed their plan to take my assets after the marriage. We made it clear that if they pushed this, we would pursue that as well. The threats stopped immediately. The fallout in their personal lives has been catastrophic. I have heard from mutual friends that Emily has become a social pariah. The public nature of the humiliation was something she could not spin or deny. Everyone saw the proof. Her bridesmaids, except for her sister and the one who warned me, have all cut ties with her. She had to quit her job because the gossip was relentless. Greg, the ex-boyfriend, did not escape either. It turns out he had a live-in girlfriend of his own, a woman who had no idea he was still entangled with Emily. One of the guests at the wedding knew her and, feeling a sense of righteous anger, sent her the video of the ceremony. His life, I am told, has also been blown apart. He is now single and has a reputation as a cheater. The house my parents had given us is the final piece of the puzzle. The deed was in my name and my parents' names to be transferred fully to me and Emily after the wedding. Since the wedding never happened, the transfer never happened. My parents and I are in the process of selling it. Emily has no legal claim to it whatsoever. The dream house she was planning to live in with Greg, funded by me, is now just another thing she has lost. She has tried to reach me through other people. She had her mother call my mother. My mom, a sweet woman who is now furious, told her that her daughter was a disgrace and to never call our house again. The arrogance she showed me that morning, the smirk on her face when she told me to forget it, was based on a single flawed assumption that I would be too weak, too embarrassed, too invested to do anything about it. She thought she held all the cards. She never stopped to think that I was the one who had built the table the game was being played on. She did not just lose the game, she lost the whole casino. Final update. It has been 6 months. The dust has settled, and the landscape of my life is completely different. I am writing this final update, not because there is new drama, but because the story has reached its quiet, inevitable conclusion. After the legal threats died down, I focused on rebuilding. I sold the house my parents had gifted us, and with their blessing, I used the money to expand my classic car business. I poured my energy into something I loved, something real and tangible. The work has been therapeutic. Taking something old and broken and making it new again has a certain poetry to it. I have had no direct contact with Emily since the day of the non-wedding. The silence has been absolute. But news travels in a small town. What I have heard paints a bleak picture of the consequences she created for herself. Her family did not recover easily. The $50,000 invoice from my lawyer became a point of massive conflict. While we never pursued the claim, the threat of it hung over them. Her father, a proud man, was humiliated. His daughter's actions had not only cost them socially, but it had also exposed them to a huge financial liability. Their relationship with Emily, I am told, is strained and full of resentment. They are supporting her, but the trust and pride are gone. Emily herself is a ghost of the person she was. She is still unemployed and living with her parents. Her attempts to re-enter the social scene have been failures. The story of what happened at the wedding has become a local legend. She is not seen as a woman who made a mistake. She is seen as a cautionary tale. The public evidence made it impossible for her to craft a victim narrative. The truth was too raw, too visible. About 2 months ago, I ran into Megan, the bridesmaid who sent me the warning text. We were at the same coffee shop. She was hesitant at first, but I went over and thanked her. I told her that what she did was one of the bravest and most decent things I had ever seen. She told me she had lost her friendship with Emily over it, but she had no regrets. She said the arrogance and cruelty she had witnessed from Emily and her sister that night had been sickening. She told me that Emily truly believed I would just get over it, and that they had all laughed about how I was too invested to ever walk away. That conversation confirmed everything for me. My revenge was not just about exposing a cheater. It was about shattering an entire worldview built on arrogance and disrespect. Emily and her circle believed they were untouchable, that the normal rules of decency did not apply to them. They believed they could manipulate and deceive without consequence. The wedding day was not an act of rage. It was a lesson. A very public, very expensive lesson in the fact that actions have consequences. The smirk she gave me that morning was the last time she would ever feel so confident, so untouchable. I took that confidence and in front of 200 people, I ground it into dust. I am dating again. Nothing serious, but it is nice to meet new people. to build something new on a clean foundation. I am more cautious now, more observant. But I am not bitter. What Emily did was a reflection of her character, not a judgment on mine. The greatest revenge I have found is not the dramatic explosion. It is the quiet rebuilding that comes after. It is the peace you find in a life free of lies. Emily is trapped in the wreckage of the life she blew up. I am on a new road, in a car I built myself, and the future looks clear and open. She thought she was closing a chapter with her ex that night. Instead, she closed the entire book on the life she thought she was going to have. And I was the one who got to write the ending. My fiancé insisted, "I lost the ring at the gym, please forgive me." I responded calmly, "Don't worry about it." Then posted a reward for its return on social media. Wait until she finds out who showed up to claim it. I'm 33 and dealing with what my fiancé calls a missing engagement ring. Except the ring isn't missing at all. Been with Melissa for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. The engagement ring cost me $8,000, which was a stretch on my electrician salary, but she'd been hinting about it for months. Classic round diamond, white gold band, exactly what she said she wanted. Everything seemed normal until last Tuesday. Melissa came home from the gym looking upset, said she had something terrible to tell me. "Babe, I'm so sorry. I lost my engagement ring at the gym. I took it off during my workout and forgot to put it back on. When I remembered and went back to look, it was gone." She was crying, apologizing repeatedly, saying she felt horrible and knew how much money I'd spent on it. Seemed genuinely devastated. My first reaction was disappointment. $8,000 down the drain. But accidents happen, and I didn't want to make her feel worse than she already did. "Don't worry about it," I told her. "It's just a ring. We'll figure something out." She hugged me tight, said I was the most understanding fiancé in the world, promised she'd be more careful with the replacement. Except something felt off about the whole story. Melissa had been weird about the ring lately. A couple weeks ago, I noticed she wasn't wearing it when she came home from work. When I asked about it, she said she'd started taking it off during the day because her hands were swelling. Then last weekend at her sister's birthday party, 3 different people asked her about wedding planning. Each time she deflected the conversation or changed the subject. I thought maybe she was just feeling overwhelmed with planning. But the gym story bothered me. Melissa is incredibly careful with her belongings. She's the type of person who counts her change twice and never loses anything. The idea that she'd forget a diamond ring at the gym seemed out of character. Plus, there was the timing. We just had a conversation the previous weekend about setting a wedding date. Melissa had been hesitant, saying she wanted to wait until after her promotion at work came through. Said she was feeling stressed about making big decisions. Tuesday night, I couldn't sleep. Something about her story wasn't adding up. So Wednesday morning, after Melissa left for work, I decided to investigate. First stop was the gym. It's a small local place where everyone knows everyone. I talked to the manager, a woman named Carol, who's worked there for years. "Hey Carol, my fiancée Melissa thinks she lost her engagement ring here yesterday. Any chance someone turned it in?" Carol checked their lost and found box. No ring. But then she said something interesting. "Melissa's been acting different lately. Usually she's chatty and friendly, but the last few weeks she's been keeping to herself. And yesterday she left in a hurry with that guy Ryan, who started coming here a couple months ago." Ryan. A name I'd never heard before. What does this Ryan guy look like? Tall, dark hair, maybe late 20s. They've been talking a lot during workouts lately. Seemed pretty friendly. My stomach dropped. Melissa had never mentioned meeting anyone new at the gym, let alone becoming friends with someone. I thanked Carol and drove home with my mind racing. When Melissa got home that evening, I decided to test her story. I went by the gym today to check their lost and found. No luck with the ring, but Carol mentioned you left with some guy named Ryan yesterday. "Who's that?" Her face went white for just a second before she recovered. "Oh, that's just Ryan. He's fairly new to the gym. He offered to help me look around the parking lot for the ring. Sweet of him to offer." She had an answer ready, which somehow made it more suspicious. "That was nice of him. How well do you know Ryan?" "Not really well. We just started talking because we use some of the same equipment." Thursday I made a decision. I was going to post a reward notice on social media and see what happened. I put up posts on Facebook, Instagram, and our local community group. The message was simple. Lost, diamond engagement ring at Fitness First Gym on Tuesday afternoon. Sentimental value beyond the monetary worth. Offering $500 reward for its return. No questions asked. Please contact me if you have any information. I included a photo of the ring I'd taken right after I proposed, and my phone number. Melissa saw the posts that evening when she was scrolling through Facebook. "Babe, what are you doing? I told you I lost it at the gym. Posting on social media is just going to get your hopes up. Can't hurt to try. Maybe someone found it and doesn't know how to return it." She seemed uncomfortable with the attention the posts were getting. A few friends commented, offering sympathy and promising to share the posts. Friday afternoon, I got my first real response. A text from an unknown number. "I saw your post about the ring. I think I know what happened to it. Can we meet somewhere to talk?" I arranged to meet the person at a coffee shop near my work. Told Melissa I was meeting a potential lead about the ring. The person who showed up was a middle-aged man named Frank. He seemed hesitant, but determined to tell me something. "I don't like getting involved in other people's business, but I think you deserve to know the truth." My heart started racing. "What do you mean?" "My wife works at Premier Pawn on 5th Street. Tuesday evening she came home talking about a young woman who'd pawned a beautiful diamond ring. The description matches your post exactly." Frank pulled out his phone and showed me a photo his wife had taken of the ring in their display case. It was definitely Melissa's ring. My wife felt bad for whoever lost such an expensive ring. "When she saw your post, she asked me to reach out. The woman who pawned it said it was her grandmother's ring, and she needed money for car repairs." I sat there staring at the photo of my engagement ring in a pawnshop case. "Is it still there?" "As of yesterday, yes, but they're asking $7,500 for it. These places mark things up pretty high." Frank gave me the pawnshop details and left. I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, trying to process what I'd learned. Melissa hadn't lost the ring at the gym. She'd pawned it for cash and made up the entire story about losing it during her workout. But why? We had decent savings and no major financial problems. What did she need money for that she couldn't tell me about? That evening, I didn't mention the pawnshop to Melissa. Instead, I started paying closer attention to her behavior and looking for other signs of deception. Friday night, she got several text messages that made her smile in ways I hadn't seen in months. Always kept her phone face down and would quickly check messages without letting me see the screen. Saturday morning, while Melissa was getting ready, her phone buzzed with a text. I was close enough to see the preview on the lock screen. "Thanks for yesterday. Can't wait for our weekend trip." From Ryan. Weekend trip. Melissa had told me she was visiting her sister this weekend and I should enjoy having the house to myself. Everything clicked into place. The weird behavior about the ring, the hesitation about wedding planning, the guy from the gym, pawning the ring for cash. Melissa was having an affair with Ryan and had pawned my engagement ring to fund whatever they were doing together. Update 1. 5 days later. 5 days since I discovered the ring was pawned, and this situation has escalated exactly as I suspected it would. Saturday, I drove to Premier Pawn to confirm what Frank had told me. The ring was there in their jewelry case, priced at $7,500. The manager confirmed someone matching Melissa's description had pawned it Tuesday for $2,800 cash. I didn't buy it back immediately. Had other priorities first. Saturday afternoon, Melissa left for her supposed sister visit. I waited an hour, then drove by her sister's house. Melissa's car wasn't there. I called her sister directly. "Hey Jenny, is Melissa coming over today?" "Melissa? No, I haven't heard from her this week. Why?" "She said she was visiting you this weekend. Must have gotten my wires crossed." So Melissa was definitely lying about where she was going. Sunday, I updated my social media post with new information. Update. Thank you to everyone who shared my post about the lost engagement ring. I've learned the ring was actually pawned at Premier Pawn on 5th Street Tuesday evening. If anyone has information about why my fiancée would pawn her engagement ring for cash, please contact me privately. This update got more attention than the original post. Several friends commented asking what was going on. A couple people shared it with concerned reactions. Monday evening, Melissa came home from her sister visit, looking relaxed and happy. "How was your weekend with Jenny?" "Great. We had a good time catching up." "That's nice. I called her Saturday looking for you, but she said she hadn't heard from you this week." Melissa's face went through several expressions before settling on panic. "I meant to call her, but we ended up just texting. She probably forgot. She seemed pretty clear that you weren't coming over. There must have been some miscommunication." Monday night, I confronted her about the pawn shop. "Someone contacted me about my reward post. Says you pawned the ring at Premier Pawn Tuesday night." She immediately got defensive. "That's ridiculous. Someone's obviously lying to get the reward money. The pawn shop has security footage and paperwork. Want to explain why you pawned your engagement ring?" Her denials crumbled pretty quickly when faced with concrete evidence. She admitted to pawning the ring but claimed it was for emergency car repairs she was embarrassed to ask me about. "Why didn't you just tell me you needed help with car repairs?" "Because you've been stressed about money and I didn't want to add more pressure." "What about Ryan? What about him? The guy you're having an affair with, the one you went away with this weekend?" She tried to deny it, but I'd seen too much evidence. Eventually, she admitted to the affair, but claimed it had only been going on for a few weeks and didn't mean anything. "It's just a physical thing. I love you. Ryan doesn't mean anything to me. You pawned my engagement ring to fund your affair." "That's not why I pawned it." "Then why did you need $2,800 in cash?" Long pause. "Ryan's been having some financial problems. I was helping him out." So she'd pawned my $8,000 engagement ring to give money to her affair partner. Tuesday morning, I posted a final update to my social media. Final update. The mystery has been solved. My fiancée pawned the engagement ring to give money to her affair partner. The engagement is off. Thank you to everyone who helped uncover the truth. That post got shared more widely than the previous ones. Within the day, it had multiple comments and shares from friends and family. Melissa's sister, her coworkers, even some of her family members had seen it. Melissa's phone started ringing constantly. Her mother called, her sister called, her best friend called. Everyone wanted to know if the post was true. Tuesday evening, Melissa packed a bag and left. Said she was staying with a friend until things calmed down. "You've embarrassed me in front of everyone we know. I've told the truth about what you did. That's not embarrassment, that's accountability. We can work through this. People have affairs and get past them. People don't usually pawn their engagement rings to fund their affairs, Melissa. That's not a relationship problem. That's a character problem." She left that night. Haven't heard from her since. Update 2, 4 weeks later. 4 weeks since my final social media post, and the consequences continue playing out. Melissa's affair and the ring situation has affected more than just our relationship. The social media posts reached our entire social circle over time. Friends shared it, family members commented, even people from work saw it eventually. Not viral in the internet sense, but definitely spread throughout our community. Melissa tried damage control by telling people I was exaggerating the situation and that pawning the ring wasn't related to the affair. But too many people had seen the timeline, and her explanations weren't convincing. Her family was particularly upset. Melissa's mother called me to apologize and ask if there was any way to work things out. I explained that pawning engagement rings to fund affairs was a deal-breaker for me. Her sister Jenny was angry with Melissa for using her as a cover story. Created awkward situations where Jenny had to explain that Melissa hadn't actually been visiting her. Ryan's situation got complicated when his roommate figured out what was happening. The roommate knew about my social media posts and put 2 and 2 together about Ryan's sudden influx of cash and new relationship. The roommate wasn't happy about Ryan bringing affair drama into their living situation and asked him to move out. Ryan had to find new housing while dealing with the social consequences of his role in breaking up an engagement. Melissa's work environment became awkward when colleagues saw the social media posts. While her personal life didn't directly affect her job, the ongoing drama created an uncomfortable atmosphere. 3 weeks ago, I went back to Premier Pawn and bought my ring back. Cost me $7,500 to repurchase my own $8,000 ring, but I wanted it back on principle. I posted a photo of the ring with a simple caption, "Ring recovered. Looking for someone who won't pawn it for a fair money." That post got supportive comments from friends, but mostly I was just glad to have closure on that chapter. 2 weeks ago, Melissa tried to contact me through Jenny. Wanted to meet and discuss getting back together. Jenny said Melissa realized she'd made a huge mistake and wanted to make things right. I declined the meeting, told Jenny that Melissa had shown me exactly who she was when she thought I wouldn't find out. Trusting her again would just be setting myself up for more sophisticated deception. Last week, I heard through mutual friends that Melissa and Ryan's relationship fell apart. Without the excitement of secrecy and forbidden romance, they discovered they didn't have much in common besides physical attraction. Ryan also couldn't continue providing financial support without income from his old living situation. The relationship ended when the practical realities set in. Melissa moved back in with her parents temporarily. Her social circle was reduced after friends took sides or just avoided the drama entirely. This weekend, I heard Melissa's been telling people she's the victim in this situation. Claims I violated her privacy and humiliated her unnecessarily on social media. She's apparently arguing that the affair was a temporary mistake that didn't justify destroying her reputation publicly. The response from mutual friends has been mixed, but mostly unsympathetic. Most people think pawning someone's engagement ring to fund an affair crosses lines that can't be uncrossed. Yesterday, Jenny called me asking if I'd consider meeting with Melissa one final time. Said Melissa was genuinely sorry and had learned from her mistakes. I explained that the issue wasn't whether Melissa would make the same mistakes again. The issue was that she'd shown herself capable of elaborate deception and theft when it served her purposes. I need to be with someone I can trust completely. Melissa proved I can't trust her when she thinks I won't find out the truth. Jenny tried arguing that people change and deserve second chances. I agreed that people deserve second chances, just not necessarily with the same person they betrayed. Melissa can find her second chance with someone who doesn't know what she's capable of when she thinks she won't get caught. Final update, 3 months later. 3 months since I posted that reward notice, and everything has settled into new patterns. Time for the final update because everyone's found their new normal. Melissa's situation stabilized at a lower level than before. She found a small apartment and returned to her regular routine, but her social circle remained limited, and her dating prospects were complicated by the story that had spread through our community. She never fully recovered her previous social standing. While some friends forgave her, others maintained distance, and new people she met often heard the story eventually. Her relationship with her family improved somewhat, but remained strained. They provided basic support, but clearly disapproved of the choices that had created the whole situation. Ryan moved to a different part of town and largely disappeared from our mutual social circles. The affair had cost him his living situation and most of his local friendships. 6 weeks ago, Melissa made one final attempt to reconcile. She wrote a long letter, apologizing for everything and asking if there was any possibility of getting back together. The letter acknowledged that she'd made terrible decisions and said she understood why I couldn't trust her. She claimed to have learned from the experience and wanted a chance to prove she'd changed. My response was brief. I appreciate the apology, but I'm not interested in reconciliation. You showed me who you really are when you thought I wouldn't find out. I believe that version of you. She replied, asking if I'd ever be able to forgive her. I explained that I'd already forgiven her for my own peace of mind, but forgiveness doesn't require me to give her another opportunity to deceive me. You're capable of elaborate lies and theft when it serves your purposes. That's not something that changes with apologies. Last month, I started dating someone new. She's heard the whole story about Melissa and the ring situation. Her response was that anyone who would pawn their engagement ring to fund an affair clearly didn't value the relationship or the commitment it represented. The difference is striking. This new relationship is built on complete honesty. No secret phone calls, no mysterious weekend trips, no wondering if I'm being told the truth about basic facts. I still have the engagement ring. Not sure what I'll do with it long term, but for now, it serves as a reminder to trust my instincts when something doesn't add up. The social media posts created a record of what happened that people in our community still remember. Melissa will probably always be known as the woman who pawned her engagement ring to fund her affair. Some people might think that's harsh, but I think it's just accurate. Future romantic partners deserve to know what she's capable of when she thinks she won't get caught. Melissa learned that affairs have consequences beyond just the romantic relationship. That deception and financial betrayal create reputations that are hard to escape. Ryan learned that helping someone betray their partner comes with social costs. That excitement-based relationships built on deception rarely survive exposure to reality. I learned to trust my instincts and investigate when things don't make sense. I also learned that some betrayals reveal character flaws too fundamental to overlook. The reward post wasn't really about finding the ring, it was about finding the truth. The post led me to Frank, who led me to the pawn shop, which led me to the real story about what Melissa was doing. If I'd accepted her gym story, I'd have eventually married someone who was capable of stealing from me to fund her affair. The reward post saved me from that future. Melissa wanted to have her affair excitement while keeping her relationship security. She wanted to take my money to fund her betrayal while planning our wedding. She discovered that choices have consequences and deception eventually surfaces. The social media posts weren't revenge. They were just information sharing. People deserved to know what had really happened rather than accepting Melissa's cover stories. Everyone got exactly what their choices earned them. Melissa chose deception and theft to fund an affair. She got social consequences and a damaged reputation. Ryan chose to help destroy my relationship. He got his own social situation destroyed. I chose investigation and truth over comfortable lies. I got clarity about who I was really engaged to and escaped before making a bigger mistake. The ring was just jewelry, but discovering Melissa's true character was valuable information that prevented me from marrying someone who would steal from me when it suited her purposes. Sometimes the most valuable thing you can discover is what someone will do when they think you'll never find out. My fiancé texted, "I'm staying at my sister's. I need space to think about our wedding." I responded, "I understand." Then I logged into our shared Amazon account and saw her recent order, lingerie and a bottle of wine, shipped to her ex's address. When I canceled the order and replaced it with a relationship self-help book. Let me start by saying that I never thought I'd be one of those guys posting about relationship drama on Reddit. I always figured I was too boring, too stable, too normal for this kind of soap opera nonsense. But here I am, freshly single at 34, drinking bourbon at 11 a.m. on a Tuesday in May 2023, and laughing my ass off every time I get a notification from Amazon customer service. So, backstory time. I'm Anthony. I work in software development, enjoy hiking, and until recently was engaged to be married to Jessica, 32, this coming October. We'd been together for 4 years, lived together in my apartment for 3, my name on the lease though she paid half the rent, and got engaged last Christmas. The wedding planning was in full swing. Venue booked, invitations sent, cake tasting completed, red velvet if you're curious. Everything seemed fine. Not perfect, but what relationship is? We had the occasional argument about typical stuff. She thought I worked too much. I thought she spent too much money on clothes. She wanted kids right away. I wanted to travel first. But nothing that felt relationship ending. About 3 weeks ago, Jessica started acting weird. Suddenly she was going out with the girls multiple nights a week, taking phone calls in the bathroom with the shower running, and being excessively affectionate with me. The kind of syrupy sweetness that always feels like overcompensation for guilt. I'm not an idiot, but I'm also not naturally suspicious. I figured maybe she was stressed about the wedding, or work, or both. So I asked her if everything was okay, and she gave me the dreaded, "Everything's fine." You know, the one with the tight smile and dead eyes that means everything is very much not fine. But she's already decided it's your fault and is just waiting for you to figure it out. Last Friday, I got home from work to find a note on the kitchen counter. "Staying at Melissa's for a few days. Need some space to think about things. We'll call you." Melissa is her sister, who lives about 30 minutes away. I texted Jessica to make sure she was okay and got back, "I'm fine, just need to think about us and the wedding. Don't call, I'll reach out when I'm ready." Now, I respect boundaries. If she needs space, fine, but something about the whole situation didn't add up. Jessica and Melissa aren't exactly close. They usually see each other at family events, and that's about it. And what was there to think about with the wedding? We'd already paid non-refundable deposits for pretty much everything. I spent the evening in a state of confused anxiety, alternating between respecting her space and wondering if I should drive over to Melissa's to talk in person. But then, while mindlessly scrolling through emails on my phone, I got an Amazon order confirmation. This wasn't unusual. Jessica and I share an Amazon Prime account. It's registered in my name with my credit card, but she has her own login, and we both order stuff all the time. We get emails for all orders since we set it up that way to track household purchases. But this order was interesting. A bottle of Veuve Clicquot champagne, a set of black lace lingerie, not her usual style, and a scented candle, all gift-wrapped with a message that just said, "Can't wait, so." And here's where things got really interesting. The shipping address wasn't our apartment. It wasn't Melissa's place either. It was an address I didn't recognize in a part of town I rarely visit. So I did what any normal person would do in 2023. I Googled the address. It was an apartment complex. Nothing remarkable there. But then I remembered something. About a month ago, Jessica had shown me an Instagram post of her college friend's housewarming party. I recognized the apartment complex in the background of one of the photos. And guess who was also in that photo? Ryan, Jessica's ex-boyfriend from college, who she'd always described as the one that got away, before quickly adding, "But it worked out for the best because I found you." Ryan, who had conveniently moved back to our city 6 months ago. Ryan, who Jessica had reconnected with, just as friends, at a college reunion thing back in February. I found the post again, and there it was. Ryan tagged at the same complex where this order was headed. A quick check of the address format confirmed my suspicions. This wasn't just any random address. This was almost certainly Ryan's apartment. Suddenly, the late nights, bathroom calls, and need for space made perfect, horrible sense. My first instinct was to call her and confront her. But what would that achieve? She'd deny it, say I was invading her privacy, turn it around on me somehow. My second instinct was to drive to Ryan's apartment and wait for her to show up. But again, what's the endgame there? A screaming match in a parking lot? No thanks. Instead, I did something much more satisfying. I logged into our shared Amazon account, canceled her order, which was easy since it was placed under our shared account, but with her login, and then placed a new separate order to the exact same address. But instead of champagne and lingerie, I sent 1. A book titled, "How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag, a Relationship Self-Help Guide," which I found on Amazon. It's an actual book about recognizing toxic relationship patterns. 2. A value pack of adult diapers. 3. A jumbo tube of hemorrhoid cream, all gift-wrapped with a note that said, "Hope this space helps you think clearly. So, your ex-fiancée." And yes, I used my own credit card for this order, not our shared payment method. I'm petty, but I'm not financially irresponsible. Then I poured myself a whiskey, called my best friend Brian, and told him everything. His reaction was to show up at my place 30 minutes later with pizza and beer, declaring, "Fuck Jessica, we're having a breakup party." While we were in the middle of demolishing a pepperoni pizza and my liquor cabinet, my phone started blowing up. Jessica was calling, repeatedly. I ignored it and put my phone on silent. Then Brian's phone rang. It was Jessica. He answered and put it on speaker. "Where is Anthony? He needs to answer his damn phone right now." Brian, bless his heart, replied in the calmest voice possible. "Hey Jessica, Anthony is busy respecting your need for space. Can I take a message?" "You know damn well what the message is." "Put him on the phone." Brian looked at me. I shook my head. Sorry, he's not available, but I'm sure whatever it is can wait until you've had enough space to think about things. She hung up. Seconds later, my phone lit up with text messages. What the f*** is wrong with you? This isn't funny. You had no right to do that. Answer your phone. Then, the coup de grace. It's not what it looks like. I finally responded with, you're right. The hemorrhoid cream was excessive, but I figured since you're already being a pain in the ass, you might need it. Her response was instantaneous. I'm coming over. We need to talk. I texted back, I'm respecting your need for space. Take all the time you need. About 50 to 60 years should do it. Brian and I were howling with laughter, probably a bit drunk by this point, when there was banging on my door. Jessica had apparently decided that her space was over and it was time for a confrontation. I opened the door to find her standing there, face flushed, looking simultaneously furious and caught. How dare you, she started, pushing past me into the apartment. She stopped when she saw Brian lounging on the couch with a beer. I need to talk to Anthony alone. Brian shrugged. It's his apartment. I'll step out if he wants me to. I shook my head. Brian stays. Anything you need to say can be said in front of him. Jessica looked like she might explode. You humiliated me. You invaded my privacy. You had no right to access my Amazon account and mess with my orders. I laughed, genuinely amused by the absurdity of her indignation. Our Amazon account, the one we share, the one that's primary on my credit card. And I think we both know I'm not the one who should be feeling humiliated right now. It wasn't. That order wasn't. I was just... She sputtered. Getting champagne and lingerie delivered to Ryan's apartment while telling me you needed space to think about the wedding? I finished for her. Yeah, I figured that one out all by myself. I'm just wondering how long it's been going on. She switched tactics instantly, her face crumpling into well-practiced tears. It's not like that. I was confused. Ryan reached out, and it brought up old feelings, but nothing happened. I ordered those things because I was thinking about it, but I was never going to go through with it. I just needed to work through these emotions before the wedding. So you decided to work through your emotions by buying lingerie and alcohol to be delivered to another man's apartment while telling your fiancé you needed space? That's an interesting therapeutic approach. You're twisting everything. I love you. I want to marry you. This was just a moment of weakness. Brian, who had been silent, suddenly chimed in. A moment of weakness that involved creating an entire Amazon cart, selecting gift wrap, writing a note, and entering shipping information? That's like at least 15 minutes of continuous weakness. Jessica glared at him. This is between me and Anthony. Actually, I said, this was between you and me. Past tense. We're done, Jessica. The wedding's off. You can't be serious, she gasped. You're going to throw away 4 years over one mistake I didn't even make yet? The mistake wasn't almost cheating, I said. The mistake was thinking I wouldn't find out, or that I'd be dumb enough to believe whatever story you concocted. But the real deal breaker? You're not even sorry. You're just sorry you got caught. She switched tactics again, going from tears to ice cold in an instant. Fine, but you'll regret this. And good luck explaining to everyone why the wedding is canceled. Oh, I'm pretty sure my fiancé ordered lingerie and champagne to be delivered to her ex-boyfriend's apartment will be explanation enough. Her eyes widened. You wouldn't dare tell people that. I won't have to. That Amazon order is all the proof I need, and I've already screenshot everything. She stormed out, slamming the door so hard a framed photo fell off the wall and shattered. It was, ironically, a picture of us from our engagement party. Well, said Brian after a moment of silence, that went about as well as could be expected. I collapsed onto the couch, emotional exhaustion hitting me all at once. I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe she tried the "it's not what it looks like" line. What else could lingerie and champagne shipped to her ex's apartment possibly be? That made me laugh despite everything. Maybe it was for a book club? A very sexy, drunk book club? We spent the rest of the night alternating between making jokes about Jessica's flimsy excuses and having serious conversations about relationships and betrayal. Brian crashed on my couch, and I went to bed feeling strangely liberated, if a bit shell-shocked. The next morning, I woke up to a hurricane of notifications. Jessica had apparently spent the night telling her version of events to anyone who would listen. That I was controlling, that I hacked her Amazon account, that I embarrassed her in front of her friend, not ex, just friend. That I threw her out of our apartment. It's my name on the lease, remember? Some people were buying it, sending me concerned messages asking if I was okay, if I needed to talk to someone about my issues. But others weren't so easily fooled, particularly those who knew about Ryan from the college days and had seen how Jessica perked up when he moved back to town. The most surprising message came from Melissa, Jessica's sister. I'd met her dozens of times at family events over the years, and we were friendly though not close. She texted me saying, "Jessica's not staying with me. Hasn't been here once, sorry." I forwarded that to Jessica with just a, as my comment. No response. But the real highlight of my day came around noon, when I got an email notification from Amazon. Someone had marked my revenge package as returning to sender, though it had already been delivered according to tracking. The return reason given was unwanted item. Amazon wanted to know if I wanted a refund or replacement. I screenshotted that and sent it to Jessica with the caption, "Looks like Ryan doesn't want your space gifts either." Again, no response. By evening, our social circle was in full meltdown mode. People were taking sides, sharing information, comparing notes on when Jessica and Ryan had been spotted together. It was like a real-time soap opera unfolding in my text messages. Then came the twist I hadn't anticipated. Around 7 p.m., my doorbell rang. I opened it to find Ryan standing there, looking extremely uncomfortable. "Can we talk?" he asked. Against my better judgment, I let him in. He declined my sarcastic offer of champagne and got straight to the point. "I'm guessing you're Anthony? I found your address on that Amazon package." He paused, clearly uncomfortable. "Look, I just came to drop this off and clear some things up." He handed me the package I had sent. It had been opened, with the book, diapers, and hemorrhoid cream visible inside. "I didn't know you and Jessica were still together," he continued. "She told me you'd broken up months ago, but were keeping it quiet until after her cousin's wedding. She said you were still living together to save money, but it was over." I stared at him, absorbing this new level of betrayal. We were engaged. The wedding is in October, or was, I guess. He ran his hands through his hair, looking genuinely distressed. Shit. I swear I didn't know. We reconnected at the reunion, and she was all over me, saying how she'd made a mistake letting me go. But she was wearing an engagement ring, so I kept my distance. Then a few months ago, she called saying you guys had split and she was just wearing the ring to avoid questions. "And you believed her?" He shrugged. "Why wouldn't I? I haven't seen her in years. I don't know your relationship, and honestly, Jessica was always really convincing when she wanted something." I couldn't argue with that. Jessica had a talent for reshaping reality to fit her desires. "So how long have you been seeing her?" I asked, not sure I wanted the answer. "We're not seeing each other like that. We've grabbed dinner a few times, texted. She came over last weekend, but nothing happened. She said she wasn't ready." I thought she meant because of your breakup. "Last weekend." When she told me she was at a work retreat, the hits just kept coming. "And the lingerie and champagne?" That was a surprise to me too. I mean, we'd been flirty, but I didn't think we were at the sending lingerie stage. When I got that bizarre package with the self-help book instead, I was confused as hell. Then Jessica called, hysterical, claiming you were stalking her, hacked her accounts, and were harassing her friends. It seemed excessive. So I did some digging, found mutual friends on social media, and quickly realized her story wasn't adding up. I offered him a beer, which he accepted after some hesitation. There's a strange camaraderie that forms when you realize you've both been played by the same person. "So what now?" he asked. Now I cancel a wedding, move on with my life, and hope Jessica gets the help she clearly needs." He nodded, looking relieved that I wasn't blaming him. "For what it's worth, I'm really sorry, and I'm staying far away from her from now on." After Ryan left, I sat in my quiet apartment, processing everything. The relationship I thought I had, the future I had planned, none of it was real. Or at least it wasn't what I thought it was. It was jarring, disorienting, like the floor had disappeared beneath my feet. But alongside the pain and betrayal, I felt something unexpected. Gratitude. Gratitude for Amazon's easy-to-access order history. Gratitude for Melissa's honesty. Even gratitude for Ryan's unexpected integrity. Because without all of that, I might have married a woman who could lie so effortlessly, who could create entirely fictional narratives and expect everyone to play along. The next few weeks were a blur of cancellations, explanations, and returning wedding gifts. Jessica made a few more attempts at reconciliation, each with a different approach. Tears, anger, seduction, guilt, but each as transparent as the last. When none of that worked, she went with the nuclear option, telling people I was abusive and she had escaped a dangerous relationship. Fortunately, most people who actually knew me found this laughable. And those who believed her? Well, they weren't people I needed in my life anyway. The most satisfying moment came about a month after the breakup. I finally got around to reading that How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag book that Ryan had returned, and it was surprisingly insightful. The book, which was a legitimate self-help guide about relationship ethics, had chapters on communication, boundaries, and honesty that felt eerily applicable to my situation. I started underlining passages and making notes in the margins. Not angry rants or bitter reflections, but honest insights about relationships, trust, and self-worth that I was learning through this whole ordeal. It became a kind of therapy, turning something I'd ordered as revenge into something meaningful. Jessica, meanwhile, had moved on to her next drama. According to mutual friends, she and Ryan had a brief, explosive fling that ended when she accused him of still being in love with his ex. The irony apparently lost on her. Last I heard, she was dating some guy from her gym and telling people she dodged a bullet with me. And you know what? Maybe she did. Because the Anthony who was engaged to Jessica, the one who ignored red flags and accepted paper-thin excuses, that guy doesn't exist anymore. In his place is someone more skeptical, more assertive, and paradoxically, more open to real connection. 6 months later, November 2023, I'm doing surprisingly well. The wedding date came and went in October, and instead of getting married, I went hiking in Colorado with Brian and some other friends. I'm seeing someone new. It's casual, we're taking it slow, but she's refreshingly straightforward. No bathroom phone calls, no elaborate lies, no space that isn't actually space. As for the book, it's sitting on my bookshelf, filled with my thoughts and experiences. Sometimes I think about sending it to Jessica. But what would be the point? She's still living in her own version of reality, where she's always the hero of the story, never the villain. Besides, I've got better things to do with my Amazon account these days. Edit. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thanks for all the support and the awards. Since so many people are asking for updates or have questions, here are some answers. 1. Yes, we managed to get some refunds on wedding deposits, but lost about $5 total, still cheaper than a divorce. 2. Jessica's family was surprisingly understanding. Her mom actually called me to apologize, saying, "She's always been like this, even as a child. We love her, but we're not blind." That conversation was both heartbreaking and validating. 3. For those asking about the Amazon account situation, it was my Prime account that I shared with her. She had her own login under my account. You can have multiple household members on one Prime subscription. I've since removed her access and changed all passwords. The credit card on the account was mine, though she would sometimes use her own card for her purchases. 4. The new woman I'm seeing does know this story, a condensed version, and her reaction was perfect. That's wild. I hope you've changed your Amazon password. I have. I've changed all my passwords. 5. Ryan and I are not friends, but we're civil. We've run into each other twice since everything went down. Once was awkward, the second time we actually had a beer and shared Jessica's stories. Turns out she pulled similar stunts in college. 6. To the people suggesting I actually publish my thoughts from the How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag book, I've thought about it. Maybe someday. Right now it's just my personal journal of this bizarre chapter of my life. 7. And yes, I did eventually tell Jessica that Ryan came to see me and confirmed they weren't really together. Her response? He's lying to save face. We've been together for months. Some people just can't stop digging when they're in a hole. Update 1 year later, May 2024. It's been exactly a year since the Amazon incident, and a few people have messaged asking for an update. So here goes. Life has a funny way of working out. Remember that casual relationship I mentioned? Not so casual anymore. Emma and I have been officially together for about 8 months now, and she moved in last month. She's everything Jessica wasn't: honest, direct, and secure enough in herself that she doesn't need constant validation or drama. She also has her own Amazon account, which is honestly a bigger turn-on than I ever expected. The most surreal development? Those notes I was making in the How to Not Be a Cheating Dirtbag book have actually turned into something. A publisher friend of Brian's saw my annotated version and thought the concept had potential. We've expanded it into a companion guide about recognizing relationship red flags and maintaining boundaries, with a humorous twist. It's being published next spring as a supplementary workbook to the original text, with permission from the original author, of course. I've been very careful to change all names and identifying details, but the core Amazon story remains because it's just too good to leave out. As for Jessica, she's been on quite a journey. After cycling through a few more relationships, each ending with dramatic social media posts about how she deserves better, she actually reached out to me about 3 months ago with what seemed like a genuine apology. She said she'd started therapy and was beginning to recognize her patterns of behavior. I appreciated the gesture but kept my response brief and cordial. Boundaries, you know? 2 weeks later, she texted again asking if I'd put in a good word with Ryan, because she'd really like to clear the air with him too. And just like that, any hope that she'd truly changed evaporated. Some people just can't help themselves. The wedding that never was would have been last October. Instead of exchanging vows with someone who couldn't even be honest about where she was staying, I spent that weekend at a cabin with Emma, completely off-grid, watching leaves fall and drinking whiskey by a fireplace. No drama, no secrets, no Amazon deliveries addressed to mysterious third parties. If there's a lesson in all this, besides the obvious check your shared Amazon account, it's that sometimes the worst moments of your life become doorways to something better. That package of lingerie and champagne that wasn't delivered? Best non-delivery of my life. Oh, and one last thing. Ryan is actually dating Melissa now, Jessica's sister. They met at a mutual friend's party where they bonded over their shared Jessica stories. When Jessica found out, she sent me a barrage of texts accusing me of orchestrating the whole thing as revenge. I wish I were that strategic. The reality was much simpler. 2 decent people found each other after realizing they'd both been manipulated by the same person. Karma doesn't always arrive in the ways you expect. Sometimes it comes in an Amazon package, and sometimes it comes in the form of your ex's sister dating the guy your ex cheated with. Life is weird, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Update, 2 years later, May 2025. Didn't expect to be updating this again, but life continues to surprise me in the best ways. First, the big news. Emma and I got engaged last month. I proposed during a hiking trip to the same Colorado trails I escaped to when I was supposed to be getting married to Jessica. Full circle moment. We're planning a small wedding next spring. Nothing extravagant, just close friends and family. And yes, we have completely separate Amazon accounts. The companion workbook to How Not to Be a Cheating Dirtbag was published 3 months ago and has done surprisingly well. It's never going to be a bestseller, but it's found its audience, mostly through word of mouth and a few podcast appearances. The most surreal part? Getting an email from Jessica's most recent ex, post-Ryan, pre-current guy, who stumbled across it and recognized the stories. Changed my life, man. Seriously. Speaking of Jessica, she's engaged now too, to a guy she's known for approximately 8 months. He seems nice enough from what mutual friends say. Successful, a bit older, completely unaware of her history. I wish them well and sincerely hope she's grown. Some people do change, after all. Ryan and Melissa are still together and expecting their first child in December. They've become good friends with Emma and me, which is a plot twist I never saw coming. We do game nights monthly and there's never any drama, just good food and terrible jokes. It's refreshing. The Amazon order that started it all has become something of a legend among our friends. For my birthday last year, Brian got me a custom doormat that says, "All deliveries must be approved by both residents." Emma nearly fell over laughing when she saw it. Sometimes I think about how different my life would be if Jessica had been a bit more careful with that order, or if I'd never seen it. Would I have gone through with the wedding, only to discover the truth later? Would I be navigating a messy divorce instead of planning a wedding with someone I genuinely trust? Timing is everything, and sometimes a notification on your phone can change the entire trajectory of your life. If you're reading this and in the middle of your own relationship catastrophe, hang in there. The cliches about time healing all wounds and everything happening for a reason are annoying precisely because they're true. That doesn't make the present pain any easier, but it does give you something to look forward to. And maybe double-check your shared accounts. You never know what you might find. My fiancé texted the night before, "The wedding is off. I need to spend the weekend with my ex for closure before I commit." I replied, "Take a lifetime." Then I canceled the venue, took the honeymoon flight solo, and blocked her. Her panic when she discovered her ex had already moved on. The rehearsal dinner went fine. Better than fine, actually. Everyone was laughing, drinks were flowing, my groomsmen gave embarrassing speeches about me, her bridesmaids did the same about her. Normal pre-wedding stuff. We left around 10 p.m. Separate cars, because tradition or superstition or whatever. She went back to her parents' place where she was staying the night. I went back to our apartment. Our apartment. Well, my apartment technically. Her name wasn't on the lease. She'd kept her own place across town but stayed at mine most nights. Had a drawer of clothes, her toothbrush, some decorative pillows she insisted made the place homier. But mail still went to her apartment. Her lease was still active. She was basically living with me without officially moving in. That detail matters later. Got home around 10:45 p.m. Poured myself a whiskey. Sat on the couch. Tomorrow I'd be getting married. Should have been nervous. Should have been excited. Mostly I was tired. Wedding planning takes it out of you. Especially when you're paying for half of a $53,000 event, and your fiancé keeps adding things to the budget. Yeah, we split it. She wanted a bigger wedding than I did. We compromised. She got the venue she wanted. I got to not go bankrupt. Split everything 50-50. Her parents contributed $10,000. Mine contributed $8,000. We covered the rest ourselves. The remaining $35,000 split evenly meant $17,500 each. That's important context for what comes next. My phone buzzed at 11:43 p.m. Text from Natalie, my fiancée, soon-to-be wife in about 14 hours. "Can we talk?" Called her immediately. "Everything okay?" "Yeah, just, can you come over? To your parents' house? It's almost midnight." "I know, but I need to talk to you about something. Can it wait until tomorrow, or after tomorrow when we have the rest of our lives?" "It can't wait." Something in her voice, not quite panic, not quite sadness, something else. "What's wrong? Just come over, please." I threw on jeans and a hoodie, drove to her parents' place. 20-minute drive, pulled up at 12:15 a.m. She was sitting on the front porch, still in her dress from the rehearsal dinner. No shoes, just sitting there. I sat down next to her. "What's going on?" She didn't look at me, stared straight ahead at the street. "I saw Ryan today." Ryan, her ex-boyfriend. Dated him for 3 years in college, broke up 8 years ago. She'd mentioned him maybe 5 times in our 4 years together. Always said it ended mutually. They wanted different things. Standard breakup story. "Okay," I said. "Where'd you see him?" "He came to the salon. I was getting my nails done. He was there picking up his sister." Small world. We talked. About what? Everything. Life. What we've been doing. He asked if I was happy. I didn't like where this was going. "And you said?" I said, "I'm getting married tomorrow." Good answer. He said congratulations. Then he mentioned his family has a lake house. Said he was going up there this weekend with some people. Said I should come by if I wanted. Catch up properly. Gave me his number. "And you took it?" I took it, but I wasn't going to use it. Not until... Until what? Until he texted me an hour ago. Said it would be good to talk, to get closure before I start this new chapter. I said I'm getting married tomorrow. Good answer. He asked if I was sure. My stomach tightened. "What'd you say to that?" I said, "Of course I'm sure, but..." "But what?" She finally looked at me. He said we never got closure, that we ended things too fast, that he's always wondered what would have happened if we'd tried harder. "Natalie, you broke up 8 years ago." "I know. You're getting married tomorrow. I know. So what's the problem? She took a breath. I think I need to see him before the wedding to get closure. I stood up. You're joking. I'm not. You want to see your ex-boyfriend the night before our wedding for closure? Not just see him. He invited me to his family's lake house this weekend. He said we could talk things through, figure out what we never resolved. I stared at her. This weekend, as in, the weekend when we're supposed to get married. He didn't know that when he invited me. But you told him, and you're still considering it. I need to know. I need to know if what we had was real or if I've been idealizing it all these years. Natalie, we're getting married in 14 hours. I know, but I can't marry you if I'm not sure. Not sure about me or not sure about him? She didn't answer, just sat there, staring at nothing. I need to think, she finally said. Think? You need to think about whether you want to marry me or run off with your ex the night before our wedding? I just need some time to clear my head. You've had 4 years to clear your head. Please don't make this harder. I stood up. I'm not making anything hard. You are. I'm going home. When you figure out what you want, let me know. I walked to my car. She didn't follow, didn't say anything, just sat there on the porch. Drove home. Got there at 1 a.m. Sat on the couch, stared at my phone, waited. The text came at 1:47 a.m. The wedding is off. I need to spend the weekend with my ex for closure before I commit. I'm sorry. I read it 3 times, made sure I understood correctly. Yep, she was calling off our wedding so she could spend the weekend with her ex-boyfriend. I typed back, take a lifetime. Hit send, blocked her number, blocked her on every social media platform, blocked her email. Then I got to work. First call, venue. Got their emergency line, explained the situation. Wedding's off, need to cancel. They said they'd been holding the date, non-refundable deposit, but they wouldn't charge the remaining balance. We'd already paid $12,000 of the $18,000 total. Lost money, but not as much as we could have. Second call, caterer. Voicemail, left a message, wedding's canceled, please don't deliver food. Third call, photographer. Voicemail, same message. Fourth call, DJ. Answered somehow. Groggy voice, I explained. He said he'd already been paid in full, so no refunds, but he appreciated the heads up. Fifth call, florist. Voicemail, kept calling. Cake, officiant, transportation, everything I could think of. Left messages, sent emails. Made it clear, no wedding happening. Then I called the airline. We had flights to Maui booked, 2 tickets. Leaving Monday morning. Non-refundable but changeable for a fee. Called their 24-hour customer service line. Got someone on the phone within 5 minutes, despite it being 3 a.m. I need to change the second ticket to a different flight, I told the agent. Where would you like to reroute it? Nowhere. Just cancel it. There's a cancellation fee of $200. That's fine. Changed Natalie's ticket to nothing. My ticket stayed the same. I'd be going to Maui. Alone. It was 4 a.m. by the time I finished. Hadn't slept. Didn't care. Had one more thing to do. I packed Natalie's stuff, everything she kept at my apartment. Clothes, makeup, that lamp she insisted we needed, her stupid decorative pillows, all of it. Packed it in boxes, stacked them by the door. Texted her mom, wedding's off. Natalie's things are at the apartment. Please pick them up. Her mom tried calling. I didn't answer. She texted back, what happened? Ask your daughter. Sat on the couch. Drank another whiskey. Waited for sunrise. My phone started exploding around 7 a.m. Calls from my parents, my groomsmen, her bridesmaids, everyone who didn't know yet. I answered my parents' call. What the hell is going on? My dad asked. Wedding's off. Natalie decided she needs to spend the weekend with her ex-boyfriend for closure. I said no thanks, you're kidding. Wish I was. Where is she now? Probably at a lake house with Ryan. Don't know. Don't care. Son, are you okay? I'm fine. Better now than after the wedding. What can we do? Nothing. Just spread the word. No wedding today. Tell anyone who asks. Spent the day in the apartment. People kept trying to contact me. I answered the important ones, ignored the rest. Natalie's mom came by around noon to pick up the boxes. She looked devastated. I'm so sorry, she said. I don't know what she was thinking. Neither do I. She'll regret this. Probably. Not my problem anymore. She took the boxes. Left crying. Around 2 p.m. would have been ceremony time. I got a call from an unknown number. Let it go to voicemail. Listen to it later. Natalie, crying. Please pick up. I made a mistake. Ryan's not who I thought he was. I want to come home. Call me back. Deleted it. Didn't call back. Another voicemail an hour later. Please, I'm sorry, I was confused. I love you. We can still fix this. Deleted it. Another one at 5 p.m. I'm at your apartment. You changed the locks? Why would you change the locks? Let me in, please. We need to talk. I had indeed changed the locks. Called a 24-hour locksmith that morning around 9 a.m., right after her mom picked up the boxes. Guy came by 11 a.m., changed every lock, front door, back door, gave me new keys. $300 but worth every penny. Natalie's keys didn't work anymore. Our apartment became my apartment legally and literally. I didn't respond to any of her calls or messages. What was there to say? She'd made her choice. Now she had to live with it. Sunday morning I packed for Maui. 1 suitcase, casual clothes, sunscreen, book to read, headphones, everything I needed for a week of solo vacation. Monday morning, went to the airport, checked in, got through security, sat at the gate, boarded, found my seat. Window seat, empty seat next to me where Natalie would have been. Perfect. Landed in Maui 7 hours later, checked into the resort, the honeymoon suite we'd booked. King bed, ocean view, balcony, jacuzzi tub, all for me. First thing I did was change into swim trunks and go to the beach. Sat in the water, watched the sunset. Didn't think about Natalie, didn't think about the canceled wedding. Just existed. Spent the week doing whatever I wanted. Woke up late, had breakfast on the balcony, watched the waves, went to the beach, read my book, some thriller I'd been meaning to get to for months, swam, snorkeled one day and saw sea turtles, took a helicopter tour of the island on Wednesday, drove the road to Hana on Thursday, stopped at every waterfall, ate fresh pineapple from a roadside stand, ate dinner at different restaurants every night, tried poke for the first time, had fresh fish, drank Mai Tais and watched sunsets. Talked to exactly 0 people unless absolutely necessary. The bartender asked if I was alone. I said yes. He asked if I was okay. I said I was great. He nodded and poured me another drink. It was perfect. Peaceful. Exactly what I needed. Better than a wedding. Better than a marriage to someone who wasn't sure about me. Best week of my life. No exaggeration. Didn't check social media. Didn't check email. Just existed in peace. Flew back Saturday. Landed around 6 p.m. Turned my phone off airplane mode. 163 text messages. 47 missed calls. 89 emails. Scrolled through enough to get the story. Pieced it together from multiple sources. Her friends. My friends. People who'd talked to her. Natalie had driven to the lake house Friday night. Got there around midnight based on what I heard. Ryan was there with his fiancée Ashley, his sister Emma, and Emma's husband. Full house. Family weekend. When Natalie walked in and saw Ashley, she froze. Asked Ryan if she could talk to him privately. They went outside. She asked him why he'd invited her to a couple's weekend when she'd told him she was getting married. Ryan was confused. Said he'd invited her to a casual hangout. His exact words based on what got back to me, I thought it would be nice for Ashley to meet people from my past. You and I were good friends. I figured you'd want to meet her before your wedding. Natalie apparently lost it. Said she'd called off her wedding to be there. Ryan's response, "Why would you do that? I'm engaged. I thought you knew that." She hadn't known. He'd mentioned Ashley at the salon, but Natalie hadn't registered that they were engaged. Or she'd heard it and ignored it because she wanted to believe something else. Emma, Ryan's sister, later told someone who told someone who told me. Natalie had a full breakdown, crying, saying she'd ruined everything. That she'd thrown away her relationship for nothing. Ryan and Ashley tried to calm her down, but she just grabbed her bag and left. Drove back that same night. That's when the calls started. The voicemails, the texts, all of it hitting my phone while I was canceling vendors and packing her stuff. By Saturday afternoon, she'd apparently driven to my apartment building and waited outside for hours. Tried her tea. Didn't work. Sat in her car crying. Eventually left. Her friends started reaching out to my friends, trying to explain, trying to get them to convince me to talk to her. My friends told them the same thing I would have. Not interested. She'd been trying to contact me for a week, trying to apologize, trying to explain, trying to fix things. Too late. I read through some of the messages. Her friends trying to defend her. She made a mistake. People get cold feet. You're being cruel by ignoring her. My friends supporting me. Dodged a bullet. She showed you who she is. Enjoy Maui. My parents checking in. Hope you're okay. Call when you can. I called my parents, let them know I was back, told them I was fine. Didn't want to talk about Natalie. They understood. Sunday morning my doorbell rang. Natalie. She'd been waiting outside my building, caught me coming back from getting coffee. We need to talk. No, we don't. Please, 5 minutes. Natalie, go home. This is my home. Not anymore. Your name's not on the lease. You moved out when you decided to cancel our wedding for your ex. I made a mistake. Yes, you did. It wasn't what I thought. Ryan was just being friendly. I misunderstood. That's your problem, not mine. Can we please talk about this? There's nothing to talk about. You called off our wedding the night before. You're done. We're done. Move on. I love you. You love the idea of me as a backup plan. That's different. That's not fair. What's not fair is me spending $17,500 on a wedding you canceled via text message at 2 a.m. so you could chase your ex-boyfriend. I'll pay you back. I don't want your money. I want you to leave. She stood there crying. I walked past her, into my building, up to my apartment, locked the door. Update. 2 weeks later. Natalie kept trying. Different numbers, social media accounts I hadn't blocked, messages through mutual friends, all the same. I'm sorry, I made a mistake, give me another chance. I didn't respond to any of it. Got the final bills from the wedding. The venue kept our $12,000 deposit, but didn't charge the remaining $6,000. Caterer charged us half of what we owed, $1,000 of my $2,000 share. Photographer was cool about it, only charged the $500 deposit. DJ kept his full $1,200 payment since we'd already paid him. Florist kept her $300 deposit. Did the math, lost $12,000 venue, plus $1,200 DJ, plus $1,000 caterer, plus $500 photographer, plus $300 florist equals $15,000 of my $17,500. Could have been worse. Natalie's mom called. I know you're angry, but she really does love you. She just got confused. She got confused about whether she wanted to marry me or run off with her ex. That's not confusion. That's knowing exactly what you want and choosing wrong. She's devastated. She'll recover. Will you? I'm already recovered. I spent a week in Maui. It was great. You went on the honeymoon alone? Best vacation I ever had. That's cold. That's practical. Trip was paid for. Why waste it? She stopped calling after that. My friends convinced me to get back out there. Downloaded some dating apps, went on a few dates, nothing serious, just seeing what was out there. Met some nice women, some not so nice. One asked if I'd help her move on the second date. Hard pass. Another spent the entire dinner talking about her ex. Also hard pass. Then I met Kara. Lawyer, corporate law. Smart as hell, funny, sarcastic, had her life together. We matched on the app. Her first message, so what's your deal? Serial killer or just regular amount of baggage? I laughed. Replied, regular amount. You? Same. Want to get coffee and compare notes? We met at a cafe downtown. She showed up on time, dressed professionally but casual. Ordered her own coffee. Paid for it before I could offer. Good start. We talked for 2 hours, about work, about life, about hobbies. She liked hiking, I liked running. She read mystery novels, I read thrillers. She had a dog named Rufus. I wanted a dog but hadn't pulled the trigger yet. Why haven't you gotten one? She asked. Was going to, but then wedding planning took over. Then the wedding got canceled. Then I've just been figuring things out. The wedding got canceled? Recently? Couple months ago. Mind if I ask what happened? She called it off the night before, wanted to spend the weekend with her ex for closure. Kara's eyes went wide. The night before? Yep, via text. That's insane. That's what I thought. What'd you do? Canceled everything I could, went to Maui alone, blocked her, moved on. You went on your honeymoon alone? Best vacation I ever had. She smiled. Genuine smile. That's kind of badass. Thanks. We went out again and again. By the third date, I knew this was different. She was different. Normal. No games. No ex-boyfriend drama. Just a functional adult who paid her own bills and had her shit together. Revolutionary concept after Natalie. Update. 1 month later, Natalie's friends started a campaign. Group message. You need to forgive her. She's not doing well. She made one mistake. I responded once. She didn't make one mistake. She made a series of decisions that led to calling off our wedding for another man. Those weren't mistakes. Those were choices. I'm not interested in reconciliation. Left the group chat. Someone told me Natalie had reached out to Ryan again. asked him why he'd invited her that weekend. He apparently told her he'd been trying to be nice, introduce his fiancée to people from his past. Natalie took it the wrong way. She'd wanted it to be romantic. It wasn't, never was. Her friends blamed me for not fighting for her. You just gave up. No, I just refused to fight for someone who'd already shown me I wasn't her first choice. Update: 3 months later, Kara and I made it official. She met my parents. They loved her. She paid for dinner when we went out with them, insisted on it, said it was only fair since they'd paid for drinks last time. My mom pulled me aside. She's nothing like Natalie. I know. That's good. I know. Kara knew the whole story. The canceled wedding, the texts, the Maui trip, all of it. She thought it was hilarious. You really just blocked her and left the country? Yep, that's my favorite part. Mine too. Life moved on, got a promotion at work, more money, better hours, started going to the gym regularly, lost the weight I'd gained during wedding planning, felt better than I had in months. Ran into Natalie at a coffee shop 4 months after the canceled wedding. She was with her mom, saw me, froze, her face went pale. Her mom looked uncomfortable, like she'd been dreading this moment. I ordered my coffee, black, large, acted like I didn't see her. She approached anyway. Her mom stayed back, smart woman. Hi, how are you? Good? You? I'm managing. Can we talk? I don't think so. Please, just 5 minutes. I've been trying to reach you for months. I know. You know? I blocked you. Not the same as not seeing the attempts. Why won't you talk to me? Because we have nothing to talk about. I want to apologize, properly, not over text or through other people, face to face. Okay, apologize. She took a breath, seemed to steady herself. I'm sorry, I made a terrible decision. I let fear and confusion cloud my judgment. I should have never called off the wedding. I should have never gone to that lake house. I should have chosen you. I did choose you. I just got scared at the last minute and made the worst possible choice. You're right, you should have, but you didn't. I know, and I regret it every day. Every single day I wake up and regret it. That's unfortunate for you. Is there any chance? No. You won't even consider it? Consider what? Getting back together? No. Trying again? No. Being friends? No. There's nothing here anymore, Natalie. Natalie, you called off our wedding less than 24 hours before the ceremony because you wanted to spend the weekend with your ex-boyfriend. Even if that weekend turned out differently than you expected, the fact that you chose him over me tells me everything I need to know. You weren't sure about me, and I deserve someone who is sure. I was scared of commitment. Everyone's scared before their wedding. They don't all run to their exes for validation. I wasn't running for validation. Then what were you running for? She didn't have an answer, just stood there. Her mom watching from across the cafe, looking sad, looking like she'd tried to tell Natalie this would happen. I thought we had something special, Natalie finally said. We did, until you threw it away. For a misunderstanding. No, for a choice. You chose to believe your ex wanted you back instead of believing in what we had. That's not a misunderstanding, that's priorities. That's not fair. What's not fair is me spending $7,500 on a wedding you canceled via text message so you could chase a fantasy. What's not fair is you trying to come back 4 months later after you realized that fantasy wasn't real. I made a mistake. Yes, you did, and I'm okay with that, because it showed me who you really are before I legally tied myself to you. Her mom tried to interject. She's been in therapy, working on herself. Good for her. I hope it helps. You're not even willing to try? Natalie asked. Try what? Getting back together? No. Moving forward? No. Forgiving you? Maybe someday. But forgetting? Never. So that's it. That was it 4 months ago when you sent that text. I took my coffee and left, never looked back. Final update, 6 months later. Kara moved in. My apartment officially became our apartment. She brought her stuff. We got rid of the decorative pillows Natalie had left behind that I'd never bothered to throw out. Bought new ones together. Picked out new curtains. Rearranged furniture. Made it ours. Made it feel like a fresh start. No ghosts, no memories of almost weddings. Just us building something new. Rufus, her dog, adapted to the space immediately. Big golden retriever. Friendly, loyal. Better roommate than Natalie ever was. I'd joke about that sometimes. Kara would laugh and agree. Got a message from an unknown number one night. I heard you're living with someone. I hope you're happy. I really do. I'm sorry for everything. I wish things had ended differently. I wish I'd made better choices. I wish I'd chosen you. Didn't respond. But I was happy. Genuinely happy. Happier than I'd been with Natalie. Because Kara chose me every day, without hesitation, without needing closure from anyone else, without doubting or looking back at exes. The wedding that never happened cost me $15,000. The honeymoon package I took alone cost $4,000. That was the total we'd paid for both of us, flights and resort included. I canceled her ticket for a $200 fee, which I counted as part of the Maui costs. The changed locks cost $300. But the lesson I learned was priceless. When someone shows you they're not sure about you, believe them the first time. Natalie wanted closure with her ex before committing to me. I gave her a different kind of closure, the permanent kind, and I took my honeymoon solo. In today's Reddit story, my fiancée spent the money I saved for our wedding on a secret getaway with her ex. When I found out, she just shrugged and said, "I just wanted some closure. You'll earn it back anyway." I said nothing, until 5 days later, she woke up screaming. You ever have one of those moments where your brain refuses to process what's happening? Like, you just stand there, staring, waiting for the universe to reveal that it's all some big joke? Yeah, that was me when I found out my fiancée, Maya, had spent our wedding fund, the money I had worked my ass off to save, on a luxury getaway with her ex. It wasn't even a discreet affair. She didn't seem ashamed. She didn't even try to lie. I had come home early from a work trip, ready to finalize our wedding details, when I noticed something odd. Our savings account balance looked suspiciously empty. At first, I figured it was a glitch, maybe a bank error, maybe some automatic withdrawal I forgot about. So I did some digging. A few transfers here, some large withdrawals there, and then I saw it, an $8,700 charge for a resort in the Bahamas. I blinked. Maya walked in right as I was staring at it. "Hey, babe," she said, all casual, like she hadn't just robbed me blind. I held up my phone. "You want to explain why almost $9,000 is missing from our wedding fund?" Her face didn't even twitch. No guilt, no panic, just a lazy shrug. "Oh, that," she said, like I had just asked why the milk expired. "I went on a trip with Kyle." Kyle, her ex. The guy she swore she was completely over and only talked to because they were mature adults. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice level. "You spent our wedding money on a trip with your ex?" She rolled her eyes like I was being dramatic. "Relax, it's not a big deal," she said. "I just needed some closure." I actually laughed at that. "Closure?" "Yeah," she said, completely serious. "You know, just to make sure I'm really making the right choice. But it's fine. I'm back, aren't I?" I stared at her, waiting for the self-awareness to kick in. It didn't. Instead, she yawned and stretched. "Besides, you'll earn it back," she added. "Money comes and goes, babe. Don't stress." "I cannot stress this enough." She smirked when she said that. Like I was some ATM with feelings. Like I'd just take this, nod along, and keep funding her life. I felt something inside me shift. All the gaslighting, the manipulation, the time she made me doubt myself, they all clicked into place. She had spent our future on her past, and yet she still thought she had won. I took a deep breath, letting a slow smile spread across my face. "Yeah," I said, calm, easy. "You're right, it's just money." Her shoulders relaxed. She thought she had gotten away with it. But if she spent my money on her past, then I was about to make damn sure her future cost her everything. She gaslit me the entire relationship. Now it was my turn to gaslight her. And I was going to enjoy every second of it. I wasn't going to rush this. No, if I was going to completely dismantle Maya's life, I needed to do it slowly, methodically, in a way where she wouldn't even realize she was being played, until it was too late. But first, I needed to reflect. How the hell did I get here? See, Maya and Kyle had a long, messy history. From what she told me when we first got together, their relationship was passionate but toxic. The kind of couple that loved fighting as much as they loved each other. One minute, they were planning a future together. The next, she was kicking him out of her apartment and throwing his clothes out the window. The final straw? According to Maya, Kyle was a serial cheater. "I gave him too many chances," she told me once, shaking her head like she was so over him. I was so stupid back then. She told me he had gaslit her, manipulated her, drained her savings, and made her feel like she wasn't good enough. And now she had done all of that to me. Irony is a hell of a drug. I met Maya about 4 years ago, back when I was just starting to build my career. She was everything I thought I wanted. Confident, charismatic, and full of life. She had this way of making you feel like you were the most interesting person in the room. She made me feel like I was special, like I was different from all the guys she had dated before. "You're the most stable person I've ever been with," she told me once, resting her head on my chest. "You're so safe." At the time, I took it as a compliment. Looking back, it was a warning. She never wanted love, she wanted security. Someone reliable, predictable, easy to manipulate. Someone she could fall back on when she inevitably got bored of her usual chaos. And like a dumbass, I thought I was the exception. Now, here's something important about Maya. She was superstitious as hell. I don't mean she casually read horoscopes. I mean full-blown, walking around with crystals, consulting psychics, burning sage to cleanse bad energy levels of superstition. She believed in manifesting wealth, the power of lucky numbers, and that the universe always sent signs before something bad happened. Once, she refused to sign a lease because the apartment number was 13. Another time, she almost skipped a work trip because her tarot reading told her there was chaotic energy surrounding her. She was the type of person who blamed Mercury retrograde for her bad decisions instead of taking accountability. And this was something I was going to use against her. Because if Maya believed in signs, then I was about to make her believe that the universe itself was turning against her. Before I could move forward, I needed to make sure she never suspected I was onto her. She was still emotionally attached to me. She thought her closure with Kyle had been successful. So I did what any rational man planning psychological warfare would do. I apologized. I told her I overreacted about the whole stealing our wedding money to take a trip with her ex thing. That I understood she needed to find closure and that I was willing to move past it. That I still wanted to marry her. She ate it up. The relief on her face was almost insulting, like she really thought she had pulled one over on me. That night, as she snuggled into me, whispering about how she knew I'd understand, I just smiled in the dark, because she had no idea what was coming. Maya had spent our whole relationship gaslighting me, twisting the truth, making me second-guess my instincts, rewriting reality to fit her narrative. Now, it was my turn. The difference? I wasn't going to make her doubt me. I was going to make her doubt the universe itself. I started small, just enough to get into her head. One morning, I casually mentioned how I had a weird dream. "I don't remember much," I lied, rubbing my temples like I was still trying to piece it together. But it felt off, like something bad is coming. Maya froze mid-sip of her morning coffee. "What do you mean bad?" she asked, instantly on edge. I shrugged. "I don't know, just bad energy." I watched her internal battle, her trying to brush it off versus her overwhelming need to believe in signs. She scoffed. "You sound like me." "I know, right?" I laughed. "Must be spending too much time with you." That planted the seed. Now, I just had to water it. Maya believed in manifestations, that what you put into the universe you got back. So, I started messing with that too. I swapped her vision board. She had one of those manifestation boards with pictures of things she wanted. A dream house, a car, travel destinations. While she was at work, I switched out some images, replacing them with pictures of broken homes, foreclosure signs, storm clouds, and wrecked cars. I changed her phone wallpaper to an eerie tarot card image, the Tower card, which symbolizes chaos, destruction, and bad luck. Of course, she thought she had changed it in her sleep. Her lucky bracelet went missing. I accidentally knocked it into the vent under our bed while cleaning. She tore the apartment apart looking for it. She started getting antsy. "It's like something is wrong," she muttered one night, staring at her vision board, brow furrowed, like my energy is blocked or something. I nodded sympathetically. "Maybe the universe is trying to tell you something," I said softly. Her eyes widened slightly, like the thought had just occurred to her. And oh boy, was I just getting started. The next phase? I needed things to escalate. So, I made sure they did. I bought a smart plug and connected it to our lamps. At random moments, I'd flicker the lights when she was alone. One night, she was journaling, trying to reset her energy, when the lights sputtered and dimmed. She jumped, staring at the lamp like it had personally offended her. I walked in, pretending to be confused. "That's weird," I muttered, tapping it. "Maybe the wiring's off?" "No," she whispered, looking unsettled. "This happened last night too." I widened my eyes. "Maybe it's a sign?" She didn't even roll her eyes this time. She just looked genuinely uneasy. Maya had a self-curated playlist she always listened to for positive energy, so I switched out some of the songs with creepy, ominous tunes. She was mid-yoga session when suddenly, instead of her usual meditation music, a haunting, violin-heavy track played. I watched from the kitchen as she froze, staring at her phone like it had betrayed her. She frantically checked the playlist, mumbling, "I didn't add this." I casually walked over. "Weird. Maybe a glitch?" She stared at me, then back at her phone. I could see the doubt creeping in. Everything had been building up to this. She had been restless, anxious, jumping at every little thing, and then the final straw. One night, as we were watching TV, she casually scrolled through her phone. I knew what she was about to see, because I had sent it, a cryptic, anonymous text message. "You know what you did, and soon, so will he." She immediately stiffened. Her fingers trembled slightly as she tried to unlock her phone. I pretended not to notice, keeping my focus on the TV, but I could feel her panic. She got up without a word and went to the bedroom. I followed 5 minutes later and found her pacing. "What's wrong?" I asked innocently. She looked up, visibly pale. "Felix, do you ever feel like something bad is coming?" I stared at her, keeping my expression neutral. "I don't know," I said, "but I've been having those dreams again." She visibly tensed. "The ones where something bad is coming," she whispered. I just nodded. And that's when I saw it. The moment she broke. The moment she actually believed something was wrong. Not just with the universe, but with her. Maya was unraveling, and I was loving every second of it. She was restless, paranoid, checking her phone constantly, and triple-checking every lock in the apartment. But the best part? She thought I had nothing to do with it. She thought this was the universe punishing her. I had planted the seed. Now it was time to make it bloom. Maya had been having trouble sleeping. She kept tossing and turning, waking up sweaty, checking her phone every few minutes. One night, she finally passed out from exhaustion. That's when I set my final trap. At exactly 3 a.m., I shook her awake violently. "Maya," I gasped, pretending to be terrified. She sat up dazed, eyes wide. "What? What happened?" I ran a hand through my hair, breathing heavily. You were talking in your sleep," I whispered. "No, you were screaming." Her face drained of color. "What?" she breathed. I nodded, selling the fear. "I woke up and you were mumbling, then suddenly you started screaming, 'I'm sorry, I didn't mean to,' over and over again." Maya clutched the blanket, shaking her head. No, I don't remember." I took a deep breath, making myself look conflicted. Then I dropped the final bomb. "Who's watching you?" I asked softly. She froze. "What?" she whispered. I hesitated. "That's what you kept saying in your sleep. Who's watching me? Please stop." She went completely still. I could practically see the horror crawling up her spine. "I need air," she whispered, scrambling out of bed. I let her go, because I knew she'd never sleep peacefully again. Maya's superstition had taken over. She was burning sage, leaving bowls of salt in corners, playing spiritual cleansing music 24/7. But she couldn't shake the feeling that something was coming for her, which was exactly what I wanted. So I gave her one final push. The morning of her weekend retreat with her friends, I made sure she left in a hurry. The moment she was gone, I went to work. I emptied our shared accounts. Every single penny. I canceled all the utilities in her name. Water, electricity, all gone. I changed the locks. She was never stepping foot in this apartment again. And finally, I sent one last anonymous text to her phone. "You know what you did. You can't run from it." Then I shut my phone off, packed my stuff, and left. Maya came back Sunday night. She had no idea what was waiting for her. I had a friend park across the street to record everything. First, she tried unlocking the door. Didn't work. She started banging on it, screaming my name. Then she tried calling me. My phone was off. She opened her banking app. Balance, $0. And then, her phone dinged. It was the final message. "You'll never be safe. You know why." She dropped her phone like it burned her. Then she screamed, loud enough that people from the building started coming out to see the drama unfold. And me? I was sitting in a nearby cafe, sipping my coffee, watching the footage my friend was sending me. It was beautiful. The woman who had spent years gaslighting me, manipulating me, treating me like I was nothing. Now she was losing her mind. And I wasn't there to save her. The next morning, I woke up to 37 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. Maya sent texts, voicemails, emails. She wanted explanations, closure. She begged me to talk to her. I simply sent one last message. Some things you just don't see coming. And then, I blocked her on everything. You might think what I did is childish. I would have broken up and left silently if she had some self-awareness. She thought she could disrespect me and get away with it easily. No. Now my ego has been satisfied. Maya had always believed in karma. She just never expected it to come from me. My fiancée started a private Reddit account to vent about me. She called me emotionally unintelligent, pathetic, and a man who tries harder than he's worth. I only found it because she used the same password she gave me for Netflix. I printed it, highlighted my favorite parts, and left it on her vanity. Today, she's blowing up my phone with 57 missed calls. I never thought I'd end up here, typing this out for strangers. But after last night, I needed to put it somewhere. I'm Robin. I'm 35, work in IT for a mid-sized company, nothing flashy. I'm not the guy who lights up a room. I'm the guy who makes sure the projector works when someone else is giving the presentation. And I was good with that. Stability's underrated these days. That's probably what attracted Roxy to me. We met through mutual friends at a board game night. She was sharp, funny, a little too clever for her own good, but it felt exciting. She had this energy that made you want to lean in. I didn't think someone like her would go for someone like me, but we hit it off. 2 years later, we were engaged. Roxy moved into my place about a year into our relationship. I had the house, the car, the income. She brought her plants, her dog, and a small Etsy business that I helped her set up a website for. I paid the bills. Mortgage, utilities, groceries. She offered sometimes, but it always came with an eye roll or a "you're the one who insists on being Mr. Provider." So I stopped asking. At first it worked. We had routines. Movie nights, Sunday pancakes, late-night walks. I actually felt happy, like I'd finally built something that made sense. But over the past few months, she'd gotten distant. Phone always in her hand, laughing at stuff she wouldn't explain. She used to be chatty about her day, but now every conversation felt like a performance she was barely participating in. And when I tried to talk about it, she'd brush me off. "You overanalyze everything," she'd say. "Not everything is a TED Talk." Then there were the digs, subtle ones. Stuff like, "Not everyone wants to live like a spreadsheet," or, "I wish I could be so emotionally neutral about everything." She said it with a smirk, like it was a joke, but it stuck. And last week she changed the Netflix password. Didn't tell me. I only found out when I tried to log in. I asked her about it. She said she was testing new passwords and forgot. Fair enough. I shrugged it off. Later that night, I tried the new password on something else, out of curiosity, and maybe, if I'm being honest, out of instinct. I opened Reddit, typed in the email she always uses, then the password. It logged in, and what I saw next changed everything. The account name wasn't anything special, just a random username with numbers, but the posts, they were unmistakably her. The writing style, the timing, the petty details only she would care about. I clicked the first post. It was from 4 months ago, titled, "Living with a Man Who Tries Harder Than He's Worth." That's how it started. She wrote about Robin, never by name, but every detail lined up. She painted me as some emotionally stunted doormat who thinks buying flowers cancels out being exhausting to talk to. She complained that I act like praise is currency, and that being with me was like dating a really polite spreadsheet. That one got a few dozen upvotes. One commenter said, "Girl, you're not his therapist. Run." She replied with a laughing emoji and, right? There were 10, maybe 12 full posts, all anonymous vents, all written like she was the victim of some slow-burn hostage situation where the villain was a man who made her coffee and folded her laundry. She wrote about the time I surprised her with dinner after her Etsy milestone and called it a desperate attempt at relevance. She even dragged my dog. My dog. His rescue mutt stares at me like he knows I'm planning my exit. There was a post from 2 weeks ago. The title was, "How do you gently tell your fiancé he has the emotional depth of a rice cake?" In the comments, someone suggested couples counseling. She wrote, "Please, I'd rather fake a coma." I just sat there, reading. Not even angry at first, just quiet. Like someone flipped a switch and suddenly everything she said over the last 6 months was playing back with subtitles. Every sigh, every eye roll, every "I'm just tired." She wasn't venting, she was performing. For internet clout, for strangers. I opened a Google Doc, copied every post, every comment, even the usernames she replied to most often, some of whom she clearly DM'd for sympathy. I organized it by date, with headers. Then I printed it all out, stapled it together. It came out to 23 pages. I highlighted my favorite lines. Like, he means well, but everything he does is so try hard. Like, relax, I'm not a princess. Sometimes I stare at him and wonder if I could fake a personality transplant and survive a year before bailing. Then I place the whole thing on her vanity. On top, a sticky note. Thanks for the feedback. Loved the part where I was a walking beige flag. Classic. Then I left. Didn't say a word. I turned off my phone for the night. When I turned it back on the next morning, I had 14 missed calls, 9 voicemails, and about a dozen texts, all from Roxy. The messages started out confused. "Robin? What is this? Can we talk?" By noon, it was full-on panic. "Please answer me. You're blowing this out of proportion. We need to talk, please." I didn't mean any of it the way it sounds. By the next morning, the number was up to 57 missed calls. I didn't answer a single one. I wasn't angry. I wasn't broken. I wasn't even surprised. Just detached. Like I'd finally stepped outside of the delusion I'd been feeding for months. That if I kept trying, she'd meet me halfway. That effort meant something. Turns out, it didn't. I checked our joint wedding planner spreadsheet. She hadn't touched it in weeks. But she had charged a custom neon sign that said R+R forever to my credit card 2 days ago. It cost $320. Cute. I called the vendor, canceled the order. Then I logged into our wedding venue account. Technically in both our names, but the deposit came from my account. I sent them an email, attaching a copy of the Reddit posts and asking for a hold on further billing. The venue manager called me an hour later. She read the messages, said she'd seen worse, but this was up there. Said she'd put the booking on pause. I also made sure my bank account got some attention. Changed passwords, updated security questions. Pulled back access to the shared budgeting app we'd been using for months. Everything got locked down. She didn't know any of that yet. Around 5 p.m., her sister Julia texted me. We're not close, but she'd always been polite. "Hey, I don't want to overstep, but Roxy is freaking out. She said you found something you weren't supposed to? I don't know what she did, but she's scared you're going to ruin her life. She keeps saying he's going to burn everything." Burn everything? Nah, not my style. I just want out. Quietly, permanently. No yelling, no scenes, just done. But she doesn't get that. Because people like her don't fear consequences. They fear exposure. Later that night, I got one final message from Roxy. "You weren't supposed to see that. I didn't mean it. I was just venting." I opened a new email account, typed one line. "You vented? I'm responding." Then I clicked send. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop near the courthouse. Neutral ground. She showed up 10 minutes early, full makeup, curled hair, trying to look casual. She smiled when she saw me, like nothing had happened. Like the past 72 hours hadn't been filled with her calling me 57 times and then ghostwriting her own Reddit roast series. I didn't smile back. She sat down, opened her mouth to speak, but I placed a manila folder on the table between us. She froze. Inside were 4 things. A printed list of every wedding deposit paid, with my name on each receipt. A cancellation notice from the venue manager. A notarized agreement ending the engagement and stating that all jointly planned expenses were being resolved in my name. A copy of her own Reddit posts in case she'd forgotten. She didn't touch it. "I didn't mean half of what I wrote," she started. I was venting. People say stuff online they don't mean. I nodded. "You're right, which is why I'm not posting any of this. I'm not here to ruin you. I'm just here to end this." Her face flickered like she wasn't expecting calm. She was expecting drama, something she could cry about later to friends. But I wasn't giving her that. "So that's it," she said. "That's it," I said. "I'll give you 3 days to move out. After that, everything goes through my attorney." She blinked. "You're not even going to try to work through this?" I looked at her, really looked at her. "You spent months calling me emotionally unintelligent and pathetic to strangers on the internet. You called me a man who tries harder than he's worth. You thought I wouldn't find out. You thought I'd just keep trying to impress someone who never respected me. Why would I work through that? She opened her mouth again. I cut her off. Oh, and if you're thinking about telling your friends I was controlling or abusive, I saved the original posts. Even the ones where you bragged about manipulating me. I don't need to say anything. You already did. She went quiet. For once, I stood up, tucked my chair in, and said, "Keep the ring. Pawn it, melt it down, throw it in a river. I don't care. But don't call me again." Then I walked out. Didn't look back. She moved out 2 days later. Didn't say goodbye. Just left a half-used bottle of dry shampoo, a few mismatched coffee mugs, and the neon sign she never got around to returning. The house was quiet after that. Not in a sad way, more like a room finally exhaling. I boxed up the wedding invites, canceled the DJ, and let the florist know we wouldn't need the arrangements after all. Most vendors were understanding. Some even refunded me out of pity. Her friends stopped texting. A few unfollowed me. One of them, though, Amber I think, sent a message that just said, "For what it's worth, we always thought you deserved better." I didn't respond. I found myself back on Reddit later that week, not looking for drama, just checking to see if she'd said anything else. She had. A new post under the same alt. My fiancé found my private vent account and dumped me. I think I ruined everything. For once, the comments weren't on her side. They picked apart her posts. People quoted her lines back to her. "He's not emotionally unintelligent. You're just cruel. You called him a spreadsheet and expected loyalty?" She hadn't deleted the older posts yet. Maybe she was hoping to control the narrative. Too late. I didn't reply. Didn't even upvote anything. Just watched. Let her stew in the silence she used to weaponize. The wedding ring's still in my drawer, not because I miss her, but because it's the last expensive mistake I'll ever make for someone who thought kindness was weakness. Last night, I made a reservation at my favorite steakhouse. Just me. I brought a book, had a bourbon, and finally enjoyed a meal without someone across the table critiquing the plating. And when the waiter asked if I was celebrating anything, I said, "Yeah, closure." He smiled. I smiled back.